All right, we're going to be a video on rewriting from standard form to vertex form. All right, so we have an equation that's asking us to write it from standard form to vertex form. So we are trying to write it in the form of y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. To do that, we need to create a perfect square trinomial, and that's because right here in this formula is the perfect square trinomial. Okay, that's where the x minus h in parentheses squared is coming from. All right, to do that, we currently don't have a perfect square trinomial, so we're going to create one by setting up our problem like this. And we push the 13 into the back. So in our process, we're going to create a perfect square trinomial. I'm going to go ahead and do a visual over here. We have the x squared, just like I was showing you in class. I have 8 x's. To make a square, I need to have 4 go this way, and then 4 going down. Which raises the question, how many little tiny little boxes do I need in here? Well, if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and this length right here is x, this length is x, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 4 times 4 is 16 of those little boxes. Well, that's the 16 I need here. But once again, no one really wants to draw this picture every time. So the algebra is, since we took those 8 x's right here and split up 4 going this way and 4 going this way, we essentially divided that 8 by 2. So that's what we're going to do here. 8 divided by 2 is 4. But once again, 4 times 4 is 16. Another way of saying that is 4 squared. So that's why we square it here to get the 16. But now we've made our equation unbalanced. We added 16 units to the right side of the equation. So to keep it balanced, we need to add 16 to the left side of the equation. Well, now that we have that, we need to turn it into this right over here. We need to make it look like it's parentheses x minus h squared. So I'm going to rewrite my problem, get it set up for that. 16 plus y equals parentheses with a square, and then my positive 13 just comes on down. So I'm basically going to do the thing called factoring here. I'm going to factor this, but we haven't reviewed factoring. So we'll just simply use this visual over here to help us. Our factors are going to be the x plus 4, the x plus 4 that we have here. Those are our factors. Once again, the way we can build this without having to draw the picture is, since we're using the letter x up here, we're going to have the letter x. Whatever sign that's in front, the first sign you have in there, that's the sign that you put inside. And then 8 divided by 2 is 4. That 4, that number you get when you divide by 2, is the value that goes there, because this number 4 is coming from how many x's you have going in each direction of this box. So now we've essentially factored that perfect square trinomial. Last step, we want to get y by itself. So we're going to go ahead and take this positive 16 and minus it over to where the 13 is. So we're going to have y equals parentheses x plus 4 squared minus 3. So this is vertex form, and up here is standard form. They have the exact same equation. If I were to graph the standard form one and then graph the vertex form, they would be right on top of each other. We just made them look different, but they are the same thing. All right, so I wanted to do an example of one of the little tougher ones where we have a number in front of x squared. So we're going to set it up to be a perfect square trinomial. So y equals parentheses 2x squared plus 16x plus blank space parentheses plus 29. Once again, we are writing in vertex form, which looks like this. Okay, but to make a perfect square trinomial, this needs to be a 1. We can make that happen. We're going to do what's called greatest common factoring, which you may remember from Algebra 1. As a reminder, ask yourself, what numbers multiply to give you 2? You're thinking of the factors. Numbers that multiply to give you 2 is 1 times 2. Then what numbers multiply to give you 16? You have 1 times 16, you have 2 times 8, you have 4 times 4. And you care about what is the greatest number that they share. The greatest number that they share is a 2. So I'm factoring a 2 out of the 16 and 2. So my equation would look like this. I'm going to put the 2 here. Now I put the parentheses after it, and then I have the x squared. And that's because I'm essentially reducing the number. 2 divided by 2 gives me the 1 that goes in front of this x squared. It's invisible right now. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I have 8x plus blank space plus 29. I essentially reduce the numbers, but I have to make sure that 2 stays there because that's the a value in our formula over here. So that 2 is important. You can't make it disappear. It has to stay there. Okay, so now I have it set up so I can make a perfect square trinomial. Same thing as last time. I'm going to take the 8. I'm going to divide it by 2. I get a 4. I'm going to square it. And I get 16. But you have to keep in mind that I didn't add 16 to the right side of the equation because 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times 8 is 16x, and then 2 times 16 is really 32. So I've actually added 32 to the right side and not just 16 because I have to distribute that 2, which means I need to add 32 to the left side. So now that we have it set up, now we can go ahead and set it up with the parentheses square. So 32 plus y equals 2 parentheses squared plus 29. Now, just like last time, we're using the letter x here, so I need an x. The first sign I come across inside my perfect square trinomial, that's the sign that goes inside here. 8 divided by 2, whatever number that I get, is going to go there. In this case, this happens to be a 4, but it could be any number. Whatever the number is divided by 2, that result goes there. Last part, just got to go ahead and minus the 32 over. So I have y equals 2 parentheses x plus 4 squared minus 3. And now we're in vertex form. Let's take a look at one more. So another one that's kind of tough, so I figured you can see multiple hard ones. All right, it says write the equation from standard form to vertex form. So once again, I'm going to set it up. So I have y equals negative 4 x squared plus 16x plus blank space plus, minus 12. Once again, I want to find the greatest common factor for these two numbers because I want to have a 1 in front of this x squared and not a negative 4x squared. So numbers that multiply to give me 4. I have 1 times 4, 2 times 2. Numbers that multiply to give me 16. 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4. And I'm looking for the greatest number that they share, which would be a 4. Now, this time we have a negative in front, which means I need to factor out a negative 4. So I have y equals negative 4 parentheses x squared, because once again, negative 4 divided by the negative 4 here gets me 1, and it's an invisible 1 in front of the x squared. Then 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4x plus blank space, then my minus 12. So now I've set up a place where I can build a perfect square trinomial inside these parentheses. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did last time. I'm going to take the middle number, which is 4. I'm going to divide it by 2, which I get 2. I'm going to square it, and that number goes in here. But keep in mind, I didn't really add 4. I added a different number. And once again, we can see that number as, just remember how this works. Negative 4 times x squared gets us the negative 4x squared up here. Negative 4 times 4x is the 16x. And negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. So I really brought in a negative 16. If I brought in a negative 16 on that side, I have to bring in a negative 16 on the left side. What I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other. So let's get this set up to have our parentheses squared. Remember, vertex form looks like this. And that's what we're going to turn it into. So we have negative 16 plus y equals negative 4, parentheses with the square, minus 12. All right, and so once again, we're using the letter x. The first sign that we have this time is a minus, so I'm going to put a minus here. 4 divided by 2 is 2, so this 2 is the number that goes there. All I have to do now is get the 16 by itself, the y by itself, so I'm going to add the 16 over to where the 12 is, and I'm going to end up with y equals negative 4x minus 2 squared plus 4. And there it is in vertex form.